Collective energy reading. Please only take what resonates. Always leave the rest for the best. Don't stress. If you're stressing, think about what the stresses are. Always realize inside of yourself. We're still in Chronicles 1.5. We're in part 19. You know what I mean? People are seeing you on this scene. They can see that you're that achiever. You're moving. You're a healer. Certain people's an actor. You're a nurturer. You're just communicating about these actors because you're that pioneer. You're unable to be able to move forward. This is about Mercury and Gemini, and that's moving about your intellect. That's your mental quickness, your verbal vocabulary, speaking and enabling. The way you're writing and speaking and communicating, enabling people. This could be somebody coming at a short distance and wanting to be able to travel towards you. They're in that left brain, not thinking certain ways, and that's the contracts about these friends. And it says... and stays in these signs for like a good 2-3 weeks. So you could be feeling like this for 2 weeks. You could be knowing about this, and somebody could be moving towards you. You could be moving directly or within the retrograde, just because it's Mercury and the way how certain things change. Take it all as it resonates. Always leave the rest for the best. Don't stress. That was your lovers. Turn down. 111. Right, it's that fulfillment. You are the fulfillment of the promise of the abundance. You see that rain coming down now, because that's that prosperity. That's fertile from Bashan. That's divine favor from those gifts, those lessons. It's bliss. It's that oppressive power, because your strength and your persuasion, and that's the amount of something, or even provided, or even something for the use, new contracts for the provision, even a service, even an amount, or even something could be supplied towards you, and it's due changing those levels of transport. And that's looking at the positions, even looking at food, drinks, equipment, even for a journey. That is setting aside an amount, even an organisation, even looking at those accounts of even unknown liabilities. You could be this person who's in that 9 o'clock, you're going towards your celebrations, and you're saying, connected to your spirituality, you're moving up with that higher A-leaves, you're looking at the Roman calamine, and that's promoting that calmness, and that's that peace, because you've got that psychic connection. This is somebody from that past, from your past. They could be feeling fragmented because of the losses and the rejections, because of the separations. They could be looking at that moment and just thinking of a special moment that brought them much joy, and they're looking now because of the Ace of Wands, because of the action that they took and the willpower when they was moving with their self, because of their ego. Now they're looking at these soul contracts and the law of attraction. They could be cherishing you, or you cherishing them, because they're enjoying that's charming arts. They could do with arts, music, creative play. They're recognizing now, because that's that radio, that's the travel, both in that physical term, so that physical and spiritual travel to the mental mind to get you higher and awakening, and that's those from the lifestyles or even the directions. So you're traveling, you're changing, transforming from those directions, because it's a journey, a vacation, reconciliation, even evolution, making that change of a place or even a setting. That setting on a larger perspective. Someone could be coming towards you. 1-1 balance, 777. That's that sudden wealth. They could be coming to have these new beginnings, the opportunities, again, insight, looking at the spirituality, to the completions, about the relationships, the contracts. This could be like a business partner, even shared interpersonal styles you have, they've had with others. Take it all as it resonates, because it's like a financial institution here, even to be able to promote provision against certain loans, losses, even the condition, even a requirement in a legal document, such as a private persecution, and that's under the promises, even provisions of the 1989 Water Act. Take it all as it resonates, guys, because we know that Melissa just bumped down in certain countries right now, and that's Ace Waters. That's people connecting now to those emotions because of the karmic cycles from the big attitudes, what they was doing in their approach towards life, and there was in that money, the lust, the pride. They had these hidden powers, hidden resources in regards to money. That's when you're in that Pisces energy. Certain people start kind of connecting to their intuitions. Identify, was you escapist? How was you moving? Because you was being materialistic in regards to these things, because you was being passive because of the money and your attitude and your approach towards life. You had to end these karmic cycles, heal yourself, connect to that spiritual solitude, this divine feminine masculine could be connecting now, looking at the karma there in that old age. You know, certain things that was hidden, afterlife, that's that awakening. That's when you're going. And that infinity, you start looking, because it's the black and the white, it's duality. Alchemists getting this guidance from the ancestors, because you have to protect yourself when you get into that Cancer energy. And you have to look who's been clinging, selfish. Start connecting, using your intuitions about these people that was moving in that Scorpio energistic way, driven by jealousy, vindictive, holding on to these assets, these loans, these possessions. You're gaining wisdom in regards to that. There you can see, use that alchemy, you was connected, you use that spiritual connection. Now they're gaining that sensitivity, that pleasure, connecting towards their heart. They're identifying, because they're cleansing about the actions that they took. They're connecting to their feelings. They're having that duality. That's that black and the white now. They're migrating both energies, the masculine as well as feminine energies together. Take it all as it resonates. It says, the relationship is over. No second chances. Grow and transformation. What's dead is dead. It came out in reverse. So they're having that awakening, that they want to be able to come back towards you. They're saying they're looking at the self-worth, your self-worth. Now they're identifying because of the expectations that they had when they was in their unknown and they was moving. Now they're connecting to the psychic release. They're looking at the instability, the way how they was moving, their health, their assets, and how they fought because of the confusion of these illusions and the emotions. Now they're seeing the illusions when they was in that Neptune energy, because they're getting connected now because of the psychic abilities. That's that 12th house, the karmics. They was having these toxic bonds, so they're identifying they was around certain karmics. They're connecting to their emotions. The ancestors, the spiritual guys, they're speaking to them. They're trying to be able to let go so they could have that death and that transformation. They didn't listen because they didn't listen to their self-worth. They was confused because of those illusions when they was having these toxic bonds and these patterns, because of this deception in the temptations. So they're letting you know, or because of this deception, I was temptations, because I was all up in my ego, and it was all for vanity and pride. So they made their pride and vanity, lust, cars, clothes, greed. They wasn't connecting to their emotions, and now they're feeling that emotion because they're losses. And that's the conditions and the requirements from the legal things. They're looking even now, even the appointments, even to a beneficiary, especially directed by a pope rather than a patron. Originally, even before it became vacant, that's like a third person meeting their needs and supplying the needs when they was with that third person. And you be supplying physical and spiritual assistance in the wilderness when certain people are out, left out in the cold, and you're stressing in those emotions because of the karmic cycles that you've had to face, and people's taking your assets, your loss, your car, your clothes, your greed, and you're doing certain things secretly and making you get into that psychological aspects of your mind. So you have to look at the way how things was hidden and the way how people was using their brain. You have to be brave and protect yourself when people are clinging and jealousy towards your things. You have to protect and know that when people are being stubborn, look at material aspects of life. You have to continuously keep on moving forward, because you have to look about your stories, because they was being an escapist. You connected to the spiritual guys because you seen that moment. You had to identify and become that vacant one for yourself, because that was that spiritual growth. When you was in that wilderness, you had to look at the provisions of salvation, looking at that Holy Spirit to be able to fulfill that lovingness within inside of you, to provide you with that knowledge, that understanding, to be able to overstand, because that was meeting the needs even of those, even trusting yourself and your needs, because that was that land of plenty. You had to look at the land of plenty. Now they're connecting to their emotions because they're at that land of plenty, because that's that egg. Them eggs, when you're planting these seeds and you're working alongside other people and you're taking this action and you're not moving with love and you're not realizing, now they're looking at that egg that they planted with you, because they were seeing when they was taking action alongside other people and certain people's trying to be creative against them, and they're saying now their ancestors was letting them know they was forbidden. You was forbidden. Now they're having this grief because of that death. They didn't want to be able to release, and now they've got to be able to release. They've got to be able to transform, because that's the suspicions. When certain people was doing certain things and blocking and stopping you, you got your suspicions. You enabled, because you seen your self-worth. You seen that opposition. It was fierce. It was like bulls of Bashan, powerful. They was savage, like spiritual forces, like pagan deities, like a Baal, false gods, who was like demon worshippers. And they was ultimately associated with demonic powers, a direct betrayal of the covenant. Those divine feminines, masculines, your family members as well as friends, did that towards you. That was knowing that that service of their own chaos, they was like a warrior god, holding thunder back, controlled in rain and storms, and it was worshipped That's why they've had this thing with certain places, guys. So when they've got that storm and that place with that worship, they didn't have that clarity because they wasn't moving with love and they wasn't moving with that purity, because now they're getting an introspection, because now they're looking at their self-worth, the way how they was moving and giving certain things, because they're connected to their emotions now when they was in that karmic cycle. Moving for lust, for pride, for greed. In the 7th deadly sin, they was the 8th one. Now they're gaining the understanding about the people that they was around and the friends, because they're holding that thunder, and they're looking at the storms, and they're worshipping because they worship Balaam. And they're now looking because about the family members. They will be releasing the family members because that confusion, they're getting that awakening, because that was invented from rituals, and it was individuals, and it was secure a social or even harvest abundant. And now they're looking at the lively stock, because that religious and the rivalry between you and the divine feminines, masculines, family members as friends, even the karmics, even these fake divine feminines and masculines. 1 Kings 1:8, because of their actions. So you seen the face, you deface them, you took their faces off them. Now their faces are coming off because them karmic bonds, they're getting that awakening, that's that clarity. They're gaining introspection in regards to these people. When they was in that unknown, they was taking this action. They're identifying because they are getting the call. They're getting that call because that was the ancestral call, and that's the spiritual call. Now they're identifying about these toxic bonds. You could be seeing the willpower and the passion that certain people was trying to be creative because they was in their ego when they was doing these eggs, because of the 5 of Wands, stress, causing stress and conflict, instability. But these opportunities, your new beginnings, your individual self, because of the action that you took, and you was just regenerating yourself. They didn't want these divine feminines to regenerate, because that was the confirmation, even which was deity, and it was a divine feminine masculine energy. Those karmics back in them, like Balaam, they was worshipping. Did something just drop? I swear a card dropped. I thought a card dropped. So they was worshipping a Bala, they was worshipping a karmic, and that was leading them to have these empty rituals, because they thought they was going to gain this 9 of Pentacles. And now they're exalted with these empty rituals, and they're at that temple, and it's that position now, because they was with temple prostitutes. And there's some of them, in some cases, the child sacrifices, they add abhorrent to you, and that was adultery, and it was spiritual rebellion, and it was perpetual. And that was by those divine feminines, masculine family members as well as friends, turning to Balaam, and they turned to sacrifices, turned to sin. You had that suspicion because you had that death, you had that awakening, you kept on moving forward because they was rebelling. Now those divine feminines and masculines, they're looking at their karmics, the Jezebels, those black-widowed, Latvias, succubus, bad energy vampires, the adultery and that spiritual rebellion that led them to that divine judgment. So now they're having that divine judgment because you had to have the suspicions in place, and that's the 3 of Swords. When they were speaking and talking, and you had to be able to speak and talk, and you seen the challenges when people were speaking and talking towards you, that's gained them suspicion now because they're having broken hearts. When they was analysing, working alongside other people, they could be hearing you communicating, they could have been communicating on devices, they could have been tarot cards, they could have been lying in regards towards you. You had to identify and recognise all the people that was doing these things behind your back when they was in Libra. They didn't have no balance because of these Ace of Wands. Now they're coming now because of the willpower. They're gaining that strength because they're in their emotions. And they're identifying now about the hard work that you put in, about certain people put in, about these assets, about these loans. And now they've got to be able to make sure about these shared resources, what they add with others. You're identifying about these secrets. They're gaining this clarity. They're gaining that introspection. They're moving with their heart. They maybe need healing. They get ground. They need healing because they're having that death. That's that transformation now, because they're seeing those around fake karmic energies. They was around a fake high priestess. They're trying to be creative. Now they're seeing your creative skills. They've got to have that death and that awakening, because that's that transformation now. That's endings to certain cycles. When you took the face off these karmics, they've took the face off these karmics and these toxic bounds, because the Hierophant, they've gained this wisdom in regards to these toxic bounds because of the deception. When they was having deception and the calls, when certain people was making calls and speaking and taking action, trying to throw swords inside of your back, you've gained this introspection because you've had to find that evolution. You started growing, you made that positive change, you protected yourself. That could be a fire energy, Ace. That could be a Scorpio, Ace. That could be a Aries, 3. Chatty patty Geminis, family members, friends, close people to you, 9. Sagittarius, 5. Leo. Take it all as it resonates. Always leave the rest for the best. Don't stress. These are fake, karmic, narcissistic individuals. These people have got no manners, they've got no respect, they didn't have morals. They was moving out of their foot bottom. They was causing all stress and conflict and instability towards you because of their ways, their thoughts, because they thought they was unstable. They didn't have that knowledge and that willpower to be able to grow. They didn't know how to make that positive change. They was full of conflict because of the actions. You was clear. You was giving this clarity. Those karmics was fake friends, masculines. They was demonstrating that stretchy part. They was demonized. They had demonic forces. They was making certain things with like media and problems and adultery and confusion and materialism that was contemporary forms of Balaam. So they was acting like they was a church goer and they was doing certain things right. Like they could do good spells and they was bad and they was practical and they was doing it all for money. Because they're contemporary forces. They was had low dense energies. They was karmic, serpent, pagan energy forces. They was ongoing spiritual battles against evil forces. And that was coming through. It led into the adultery, fertility and resources. It was tangible fulfillment of that divine principles. And it was for you. It was your divine presence because you're fruitful. And you had that home sense of worship and that nurturing because you had that inheritance. You had that mighty. You was numerous. You had that power. You was able to multiply throughout your systems because you was that true nine of cups. You was that true honesty. You was that pentacles. You're the queen of pentacles moving towards your luxury. They wanted your luxury. They was in exile, so they got exiled. And that's that Knight of Cups. They may be now connecting to their emotions. Now you're going to be hearing about these karmics got exiled because those divine feminines, masculines, even the collective, even a promised land. That's that geographical, and that's looking at the separation. That's even looking at the cultural and essential worship of you, and you just possess. You looked at those challenges. Now those divine feminines, this Knight of Pentacles, is looking at these challenges. They're coming in like a knight because they're looking in and seeing the challenges in regards to these money. They didn't have that structure. They didn't have that leadership. They didn't gain that inner standing because that was that organized, and it was forced, and they was focused and organized on this. This could have been a fire sign, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, because there was passion. They thought they was being creative. Now they're gaining introspection about the action. Certain people took, they're gaining clarity about these family members, these fake friends, because of the Three of Pentacles, the way how they was working and the things that they was doing and how they was working together with each other. And it's spellbinding tale of cooperation. So they were spellbinding tales of cooperations about family, friends, relationships. In that childlike spirit, you had to identify. Now they're in that hangman position because they're letting go, sacrificing, because they're identifying there was karmics. They're seeing now the Three of Swords. They're stressed because they see that you're that star, the woman of the cosmos, a journey into the realms of fertility and intuition. So you wasn't able to connect to your intuitions when people was taking the action. You had your hidden powers. They didn't realize you had that willpower inside of you. Certain people was direct, aggressive, egotistical, head far up their arse when they didn't have no balance and they weren't being fair and they was being indecisive about these relationships. You seen that they had somebody around them driven through jealousy, idealistic, clinging towards them. You took the action, you going forward because you seen the things from the underworld. You seen when certain people was obsessed. You just regenerated. You seen that low dense energy. You connected to the conscious mind. You kept on moving forward. They was moving with lust, greed, pride. This could have been their friend at the side of them, blocking them. This could have been their male friends. Take it all as it resonates. They could have been just females in that masculine energy. And in a different times and different realms, you was that faithful one. You was that at that covenant, and you avoided that animalogical. You looked and attempted. You went forward on the amalgamation. You looked at different religions. You looked at the cultures. You looked at school of thoughts. You used your intuitions. You used that faith. You looked at dialogue. And you can easily split into different things. You were synchronizing certain things. So you seen the synchronisms, and you was emerging of different intellectual, and even looking at the varieties of the way our words are and during the development even of language. So you knew that that was a star. You know that the star is that 5 energy. You know that's when someone's in that ego. But star is 17, so that's 1 and 7. So you keep on moving forward. 1 is about the attitude when you're moving and you're taking that action. Are you doing it with aggression? Was you doing it with extra drives? 7 about these partners, these contracts, these business, like interpersonal sides, when you're sharing things. 8, you're looking at the inheritances, the tax, these finances, these loans. Have you got to go to court? Have you got to identify what's going on? What are you working alongside people? Are people doing things from the unknown? Because that's that Ace of Wands. Now they're identifying you're that star. They're seeing that's the Ace of Cups. You was that blessing from the Most High. You was that true love. Now they're in Hierophant. They're gaining this introspection as to who you are. They could have Ten of Swords you and made you feel stressed. Now they're feeling Ten of Swords. They're feeling stressed because they're seeing the action that they took. And your future begins now. And what is the container? Love, joy, a promotion, even a baby. Look inside and find out what. So they may be taking this willpower. Certain people are taking the willpower to be able to take this love, joy, promotion, even a baby. Now they're seeing that the actions that they took with the balance and they was in that childlike spirit. They're identifying the King of Swords, Sci-Fi, Tarot. Now they're looking the smartest man on the planet. They maybe want to be able to come now and speak this passion towards you because they're having that death and that's awakening. They're letting you know about the action they took when they was in that underworld and the things that the unknown. They're trying to be able to gain this balance about the wands. Because when there was Wagadaka tackling with their wand, when they was having these relationships, they didn't have balance because it was all about money. And now they're coming to that world. They're looking at that completion and that fulfillment because they're connecting to their heart now. And it's cornered by the slitherers. And it's auras. Sorry. Order. Can't even see the writing. It's so tiny there. Horde on the Aroan old plains of Nephron. Does she have a secret weapon? So they're saying that you are that secret weapon. You are that abundance. Your ascendance. You're moving because you're connected to the divine. You take that action. You move with love. And you gain that clarity. You're connected to the Most High. It don't matter whoever's coming towards you because that Venus. This is Knight of Pentacles. Because you're looking at the dialogue. You see things from different perspectives. You look at different cultures. Different backgrounds. You identify. You look at different religions and you're looking at philosophies. You're even seeing out Halloween and the criticism behind Halloween. It's Halloween today, guys. You identify because that's that self-confidence to be able to create because you're brave. You're using your intuitions. When you know like Daniel's in the lines, then you fight your ass out of there. They was in that low dense energy, having love affairs and romance and using their ego far up their arse. And now they're taking that chance because that's resulting from that impressiveness now. Because they're seeing, they're identifying that life purpose, vitality. They can see that you're the part of their destiny. And the Three of Pentacles, the people that they was messing about was trying to block your destiny because where you're going in your career, they was trying to stop you because you know you're the star, you was the North Node. They know that they can stop you because they knew that there was success from there. You're that star. You was moving with love. You was moving with compassion. You was connected to the divine. And you had to identify about these fake family members when they was taking this action in regards to this love and money. That was a karmic situation. And your faith, it was hidden tendencies. You see in the larger institutions or even overwhelming events that could be coming your way. Now they're going to tell you about these larger institutions and overwhelming events. And it's stirring up the situation because when they was in that Uranus, they're gaining understanding, it's awakened. They can see your originality. And you're being open about ideas. Now they're open because they're inventing a way to be able to come towards you now. Because they're gaining that understanding. Because that's that spirituality. They're using their intuitions to be able to resurrect. Because when they're getting that transformation, because they was in that Pluto energy resurrect in regards to this relationship now. Because the relationships to be able to come and get a fair deal. And they're identifying about these people. They're saying, oh my God, it's the soul contract I had with you. You had with me. And we can be a family with a big fat lovely. They want to come towards you, G. So they're looking at you now. They want to be able to come towards you because they're looking at that next level. Let's have a look at these contracts because they can see that luxury life. They may want to come give you this luxury life. Take it all as it resonates. Always leave that. No, I'm sorry, guys. Let's get this. Leave the rest for the best. What is this, Leo? They're having justification about this sudden wealth. So they're going to cut these family members, these fake friends. This could be your family. This could be your friends. This could be social people that's close to you. People you know. They're looking now because they needing this confidence. They don't know that self-esteem. You've got your self-esteem. They're looking at their confidence now. This could be a fake high priestess took them to be caught because they was thinking that they was going to be able to get this leap of faith and have this sudden wealth. They may be coming telling you about these family members. Now I see you're the high priestess. They're taking a leap towards you to give you this hidden powers. They see your guidance about this house because they're seeing that's the north now. They can be coming to be able to give you some information about this house and this money, these finances. They may be taking that leap towards you because that's the world now, that accomplishment, the fulfillment. Take it all as it resonates because about bad health, about these family members, about the action that they took when they was in that low dense energy, the karmic family members, the karmic friends, because of that foundation, the stability, the emotion, about these assets, about the home, about these, what do you call it, real estates. Now that journey, you're gaining understanding about this. It's cross-cultural, it's overseas, it's change. That's sudden change. That's because they're being versatile, looking at the optimistic now. Having compassion, kindness. This could be this mature man, wealthy man, coming towards you. Aries, they're taking that action now because of their attitude and approach. They're kind of looking at the communication. They're coming to connect to their heart. They're connecting to their emotions. To be able to come and tell you some information. They could be traveling towards you. To be able to take and act towards you because they're now coming connecting. They're seeing their activities and their interests, and they're interested in you. Their family members or friends, where they was moving, connected to their foundations, their emotions. They're protecting their self away now because that's that awakening. It's sudden change because they're seeing that as certain people was trying to be able to go towards that new beginnings about these material aspects of life. They're having that understanding because they're seeing that they're using their intuition. Now they're connecting. They're seeing that you're stable, you're eccentric. They could be flight and detached. They want to come and talk to you about these things. They're having great concerns. They're having stress and instability. They're in their mind, they're in their thoughts, they're in their feelings. Because they're recognizing now, and that's a recognition of family illusions. That's what I've just seen. Oh, because they're having enlightenment. At the moment, they're saying about this past life, and they're seeing those synchronicities. You could have seen the synchronicities from the past life because they're seeing, they're feeling plugged now. They're tuned in, they're connecting, they were searching, they could be searching, you could be searching. Take it all as it resonates. Oh, you could be identifying about financial support. So they've got to go to court because this child in the government and alimony, this divine masculine. They're identifying because that's a retaliation and it's punishment, it's payback about this house. And you could have heard that the home, the foundations, it's sold and moves in physical locations from this home now. They're saying about this band to Unter, the chase shot on hot pursuit. So they're traveling. And this divine masculine was being wealthy man, pretending, fake living beyond their means. You're identifying about their door and attachments and admire and enchantments because it's love. And that toxic, they could be letting go of toxic people and unhealthy behaviours, people, because that's in reverse. And they're looking at that present now and in the moment. Because of their irreplaceable. Now they're looking at the differences. They've had the divorce. They could be telling you this divorce is final. You could tell them, yo, I'm over you. Let's call it a day. I got news for you. I'm glad we're through. Hip hip hooray. They could be telling that to the most high. So they could be telling that to the karmic. Eyes for you. Enchanted, and they're watching you. They're telling the karmic, I'm over you. You could be telling them, I'm over you. What's the gossip? Because they're having this ascension. They could be love bombing you and intense affection too quickly. They could have got love bombed. They connected to that inner child. Now they're looking who's real, who's fake, and the commitment issues they had and retirement goals. They could be looking at you for that retirement goal. Take it all as it resonates. This connection. Oh, let's have these three because they three came out. Fearless love, manifesting one, tease. So they could be fearless love, manifesting you, teasing you. Let's see what's in my bag. Stays out my bag. Because what's in my bag stays out my bag. It's my bag. It's my bag. Because what's in this bag stays out this bag. There's so much in this bag, guys. I've undone this bag, I've redone this bag, and that's all it out. Take one more. It says receiving compass, using my creative mind, using your creative mind. So now they're using theirs. Reality began to set in. I no longer want you. So reality set in, or they no longer want them. They're having that divorce and it's final. They could be telling the karmic that. New man, new glow. Does it show? I got married. So they could have added that. Tell them all. Let's take it all as it resonates. Smoking sea, the doom, the catalysm, explosion of 14 flames. No ship dares sail. Demon hunted. Who said the wrong part of summer sea? They love me. Just identifying the best in me. So you're identifying the best in you. You are not her, him. So you're not the karmic. They can't show you love. They don't love their self. So they can't show you love. They don't love their self. The earnest prayer of the righteous one accomplishes much. So they be playing, you prayed, you're manifesting, you're overwhelming to those standing in the darkness. So you're overwhelming to the most, to the most high, to the karmics. They want you out the way. Too many secrets to come to light. So they want you out the way because too many secrets to come to light. What woman having 10 silver coins, if she loses 1 coin, does not light a lamp and sweep the house and seek diligently till she finds it? Luke 1:5. About the attitude towards the new beginnings. You're just moving, getting out that stress and that conflict and instability when people are in that low dense energy about these assets, these loans, that 8 hours clinging on, selfish jealousy. You continuously keep moving forward to those actions. You have them transformations. Keep moving. Stay focused. Rejoice when found. So you keep moving, you stay focused, you rejoice when found. Tried to humiliate you. So they tried to humiliate you. Tried, guys. Big TR. The Most High is going to make them come and worship before your feet, and to know the Most High loves you. Revelations 3. Those family members, those groups, those relationships, your lover. Now they're getting that awakening. Now having that growth. They've got to move because that's achievement, fruition, awakening. 9, about the 12 karmic cycles. Get back to reality. Get down to gravity, gaining power over my own feelings and the way of life. So now they're gaining power over the feelings and their way of life because that's self-worth and their expectations from the confusions of the toxic karmic energies. Big man moving like a young boy. These Peter Pan man them compensating you for doing the work. So now they're coming to compensate you for doing the work. Process I'm going through, it's a part of the shift. So it's a part of the shift, guys. That spiritual shift, that karmic shift, that awakening shift. Get out of your mind, the balance, the stability, your relationship, the foundations, your partners. Book the money. It's about the spiritual side of life, guys. The money comes after. Not saying that you don't need it, because you do, but it's that connection. It's a physical, spiritual, the oneness with inside of yourself, whole, pure. Take it all as it resonates. Leave the rest for the best. Don't stress.